Welcome in and welcome back to the Down South Philly show. Make sure brought to you by Sports Lounge Media. Make sure you hit that like button, drop a few comments, and as always, subscribe. We got a we got a really good show today. Unless you've been hiding under a rock, you know that the NFL schedule dropped yesterday, and we now know what the 2026 NFL schedule is going to be. We have a lot to discuss. We'll go over the entire season or regular season, and then give a record prediction and all that good stuff to go along with it. What's good, Daniel Barry? Happy Friday to you. Happy Friday to you. So, we still got a long way to go in what we know as the NFL season in 2026, but it got a lot clearer as to opponents. We already knew the opponents, we just didn't know like exactly how that was going to flow. So now that allows you to get your tickets, plan, get your Airbnbs and flights and all that stuff in order. But before we get into the schedule, we got to talk about the latest news when it comes to Kevin Patullo, the former offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. So he had a lot to say recently in an interview. Um, he is with the Miami Dolphins, and I'm not going to read the entire quote, but just to sum it up, he basically said that he was very instrumental in the first Super Bowl run and the second Super Bowl run, and it caught a lot of Philly fans off guard. It got them kind of in an uproar. I don't know how true it is what he's saying. I would say this, because of how badly it ended, it makes us kind of scoff at anything that he would say. Like, even if it is true, it's like you don't have we don't need to hear that from you after the season that you had as the offensive coordinator. Could some of what he said have been true, or is true? It's possible, but it's kind of like when you go through one of them bad breakups and your ex is over there saying, I had a lot to do with your success. I know things didn't work out with us, but I made you, in a sense. And that's basically what I took from the quote or slash interview that he had. I don't even know what it was for, but uh I don't even necessarily think it's anything worth getting upset about, because I mean he over there. Let Miami deal with that headache. Let them deal with whatever comes with KP. What I will say is that it's a timing thing. What's good, Ron? How you feeling about y'all schedule? I haven't had a chance to dive deep into the Bears schedule yet, but yeah, how you feeling about the Bears schedule this year coming up? But yeah, when it comes to Kevin Patullo, it really just it's still too soon for him to be speaking on anything Eagle related, outside of him just admitting that um he just didn't do a very good job. I don't think as a Philly fan we want to hear him say anything, but if there was anything coming up, go ahead. I'm recording right now. I'll be back. Um, Go on, girl. Mm-mm. It's time to go to bed. No. I don't think anything outside of it's an easy one. I'm gonna have to look at that, Ron. I ain't even paid y'all schedule no attention. I don't think anything outside of him saying, you know what, I just didn't do a very good job would be accepted by Philly fans, and I think that's fair. I really do. I think that would be a fair take. But hey, he said what he said. It is what it is. We've already parted ways with him. Um, Best of luck to him on whatever he has going on. I don't even know his position over there, if he's a offensive coordinator again or what. Certainly he shouldn't be, but hey, we'll see. That's all I had on that one. But when it comes to the schedule, obviously we had a couple games that we knew heading into the big schedule release at 8 because it's not really so the schedule release is not what it used to be due to social media and how fast we get information and everybody's connections. Things just leak. Things leak. We get stuff early. Full schedules were out maybe like a couple hours before the official release. But one of the things that we knew heading into it was that the Eagles were going to play the Jaguars in London. Um, Real football fans know that Bears beat the Eagles last season. We'll beat them again. Nah, y'all caught us slipping last season. We definitely gonna and we're gonna get into that too when I talk about that particular matchup. But yeah, y'all caught us slipping. Y'all did exactly what you were supposed to do. Won't happen twice though. But the Jaguars and the Eagles. London, it's a week 5 matchup. We go to London. I'm not too thrilled about it because I'm not a fan of any game where you gotta travel you gotta travel overseas. It's getting them out of their routine. Um, the game is being played 9:30 AM Eastern. Um, I don't know how much they feel it once they there though, because at that point to them it's not gonna feel like 9:30, but I appreciate game. I do the thing that I do appreciate about this game is that it's gonna come on at 9:30 in the morning for those on the East Coast. Um, if you on any of the other coasts, I think it could come on as early as like 6:30 in the morning. So you probably are less thrilled about it than I am, but I'm cool with it from the standpoint of it's gonna be on early, but I just don't like the fact that see what the mogul said. Damn, I thought you go on at 5 p.m. Nah, it's I go on 7:30 my time, which is I guess 4:30 your time. Nope, but I mean whenever you get a second, you're welcome to pop on whenever you can. I'll be on here breaking down the schedule. But this one in particular, I'm not I still gotta see what Trevor Lawrence is. I know it's a lot of people that put him on a pedestal when he first came into the league. It was a lot of expectation that he didn't come through on due to you can put it on bad coaching, you can put it on lack of weaponry, you can put it on a bad offensive line, but still to this date, it's not a lot on his resume. He hasn't put anything in the trophy case. I'm not even sure if he's won a division at any point. Okay, I'll be right on. All right, well, yeah, just pop in. I add you whenever you get in. Um, when it comes to Trevor Lawrence as a franchise quarterback, I just still got to see it. He's had some time now to kind of show what he has in the league, and last season may have bought him maybe a year or two in the eyes of the people who already put him on that pedestal. But when it comes to me, I'm just simply not impressed. Uh, he hasn't really done anything in this league that would put me in the mind frame of, oh dang, we got to go up against the Jags. Now, the Jags defense was good last year, and we're expecting them to return back to something similar to that. So they will have something to say in the AFC South, along with the Texans, and we don't suspect or we don't expect the Titans to really do much. The Colts came on strong last year though. The Colts was one of those teams where they started off hot. Daniel Jones was Daniel Jones was on fire. And he got hurt. They made the big trade for Sauce Garner, and it never really, the season just went all downhill after the Daniel Jones injury. But Yeah, so the Colts, they'll probably have something to say about the AFC South, Texans, and the Jaguars. Going into the season, I suspect that it's a three-way race at the top for that. But when it comes to this matchup in particular, I'm more concerned with the fact that it's in London than that is the Jaguars. I believe that this will be their first game. Because the Jaguars normally spend at least two weeks in London every year for the past couple of years. But I think this will be the first game that they're there, and then they stay the following week to play somebody else. And those will count as like two home games for them since they got some kind of deal going on where they go to London every year. But yeah, I like the matchup. I'm not worried about Trevor Lawrence. Um, our defense is something that I haven't worried about since 2024. Um, the 2024 season, we already know how that ended. And then 2025, defense was still doing what it needed to do. It wasn't great, but once we got clicking, once we got the pass rush again, we became a dominant unit. Offense just held us back last year. So coming into 2026, I expect to have some of that same dominance. We still do have a piece or two that need to be added to this team to make it complete. So we can kind of be considered a Super Bowl contender in week one. So I talked about it last weekend, and once Mike and Dom get on, we'll talk about it some more. But we all know that we still need to add a veteran presence at safety, and maybe another pass rusher. It's not as big of a gap now that we have added Grenard to the fold in the draft, but maybe one more pass rusher and a safety, and of course getting rid of AJ Brown. So whatever we get for getting rid of AJ Brown on June 1st, a safety, pass rusher. That's where if we address those within the next month or so, I think that will be a legitimate Super Bowl contender again. We got a lot of the same pieces returning. Obviously, we don't know. Hold on, this looks like I don't know if this is Mike or Don. We're about to see. Yo, 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 Chosen is in the building.
What's going on?
What's up with you?
Chilling, chilling, brother.
Hey man, I know you didn't really get a chance to get on yesterday and give your thoughts on the whole NFL, but of course today we got to talk birds and the schedule. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
I did want to touch on before we got into the full schedule. I would like to get your thoughts on this whole Kevin Patullo quote that I'm sure you've heard of by now. Where this is just a little bit of the quote. Um, g- Giving your thoughts on how you feel about what he said. Does it move the needle for you?
Go ahead and read it again for us.
Yeah. So the quote says, and this is just a snippet of the quote. It's not the full thing. Um, I think really just coming in with Nick in 2021 and really building that whole entire program from the ground up. I was the first one there. I was the first one there with him. Made a lot of the hires. We set the organization in the place as far as culture, what kind of players we wanted, what kind of offense we were going to. Basically saying that he helped build this thing from the ground up. Um, and he goes on to kind of take a lot of the credit for the 2022 season, the 2024 season. Um, just a real interesting quote that's got a lot of Eagles fans up in arms. But just love to get your thoughts on that quote.
Yeah, anybody that comes into an organization and you see a squad thrive and then you leave that squad, obviously, you're gonna have certain feelings about it. And I mean, your feelings is not wrong at the fact that you are one of the pieces that kind of help. You know what I mean? And I use kinda because there's a lot of
Mhm,
y'all. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
So just like you are saying that, Steichen could be saying something, right? Gannon could be saying there's a lot of different um coaches could have that intel as well. What is it? Christian Parker, is that his name?
mhm.
Could have a little something to do with what's happening secondary after what Coop has said.
Look like you muted.
Technical difficulties, crazy.
You back.
All right. But yeah, a lot of people have a lot of personal feelings towards what's going on and what's happening in Philly. But hey, I mean, I really don't have no thoughts on it. I mean, if you feel that you built the whole thing, congratulations. You know what I'm saying?
Do
Like,
it again.
yeah, do it again. Like, I really don't have no yeah, I really don't have nothing really much to say about it other than congratulations. Thank you so much for your time. And we appreciate that. And carry on.
Yeah, it ain't really a whole lot to harp on, especially considering the fact that he's gone. It's just interesting that you hear something like that from a Kevin Patullo, but we've never heard anything from Steichen. We haven't heard anything from Kellen Moore, people who had success with the Eagles and could, you know, rightfully so, take more credit than a Kevin Patullo. So, but at the end of the day, he's somebody else's problem now. We got to move on. New season, new season.
Another perspective it could be is the fact that he wants to keep himself relevant too. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that he was getting all that heat and he kind of wants to throw that heat off of him and try to start fresh again and saying, "Hey, listen, even though we had a bad season or play calling wasn't great or however you perceive me, don't forget that I was there when all of this went down. So I was there when I was part of the development phases of creating the team that you see today. So just keeping himself relevant. I mean, but it's what it
We
is.
got we got something from Tunchi right here. He says, if he built it, why why did he not know how to? I can't see the rest of that.
Use what he built.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the point. That's the point. So I mean, if he helped build it, go ahead and do it again in Miami. The cupboard is bare over there, so they're going to need your expertise on how to build something from the ground up. We in 2021, that was when things were first starting to really take shape. Obviously, we still had a lot of veterans on the team. That was Hurt's first starting season, I believe, full starting season at that point. So we were just now, stocking the cupboard to go on what we are in this run that we're on right now, if you want to call it a run. Um, so yeah, do it again at the end of the day. But turning the page a little bit. So obviously we're here to break down the schedule, and there were I'd love to get your thoughts on, we kind of talked offline a little bit just about the culture shift and how it has changed over, say, the past 10 years when it comes to schedule releases. So, right, back in the day, it used to be, we mentioned, you didn't even know who the opponents were coming into, yesterday. But now you basically got the whole schedule 2, 3, maybe even a week before the official release. So kind of give your thoughts on how that's changed over the years and how you feel. Is it good? Is it bad, or is it just kind of is what it is?
Yeah, it's a love hate relationship, man. When it comes to the schedule release, as a media analyst and as a person who uh, loves what we do, right? We look for those types of things so that we could be first, right?
Right.
We look for those types of things so that we can give our fans, our community, our people that we love and care about on these pods and in our community throughout the website, be able to give them something before anybody else does. And so, for media purposes, it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
And fans
are anxious. We live in a world now that everybody wants everything right here, right now. So
Microwave.
yeah, and so that's cool. But the other side of it, as a fan, I hate it. Why? Because I remember growing up, and even you know, I mean, for years we would make it into like the draft or the Super Bowl, like because in families, most families have the same team. Some families are divided.
Mhm.
Some families bring other family members are from different teams. For instance, in Cali, you got Oakland, you got San Francisco, you got the Rams, and you got the Chargers, right? You got four teams. You could have a piece of everything coming over to your little barbecue. You know what I'm saying? And be able to talk mess to each other and be like, oh, you got them on your schedule. Oh, you got us. Oh, you got, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it goes back and forth. Oh, we finna beat the brakes off y'all, and stuff. And you guys get to go back and forth. Can't do that now.
Mhm.
I mean, you can still do it, but it'll be a week early. You know what I'm saying? And it won't be
Yeah.
at the barbecue. You don't.
It's
There's
probably
not
just a
that
text.
right. There's not that sense of togetherness. There's not that sense of us, surprise. Like, oh my gosh, we got them on the schedule. There's not that anymore. So we kind of shifted gears here to we actually stopped having those barbecues. Because
Mhm.
there's really no sense of there's no surprise. There's nothing to really celebrate because we already get what we get, days before. I guess we still could have them, but I mean, I guess the element of surprise was the whole reason behind it. So there's a love hate relationship with it. You love it because you're in media, and you hate it because when you're a fan and you have make it a family thing, they kind of take the fun out of it. But we're here, so we got to learn to love it and turn the page and see how we could make something out of it, make something out of nothing. You know what I mean? At the end of the day.
Yeah, it kinda is what it is at this point. It's, just something that we go because I don't see it changing. It's if anything, it'll probably get worse,
Yeah, it
from that
definitely get worse.
aspect. So, with that being said, we kick it off with the first game. So we got a
And to
home
be
opener. Go
And to
ahead.
be honest, I probably, if I had to predict, we probably because we right after the Super Bowl, everybody knows at least the opponents. They
Opponent.
just don't know the order. We might even see that change to where
The full
you,
thing just dropped.
it just ends up just dropping. We don't wait, um, like it'll be sooner than later. I mean, it won't be right after, but
Right.
there would be it'd be a strategic move to where NFL's talked about for that whole because that's what they want. They want 12
Right.
months of you constantly talking about the NFL, and if that's something that can fill in the gap. I see them filling in the gap with that. But let's start with
If
week
it
one. Yeah,
if it's one thing that the NFL doesn't need help on, it's marketing. They do a great job. But yeah, hopping into week one,
yeah.
obviously we got the Washington Commanders coming to Philly. This is a huge one. So we kicking off week one, home opener, season opener. This is actually not all that foreign to us. Obviously, with Washington being a division rival, we see them twice a year, but I remember in years past, like this being just a normal thing where we would play Washington at, as our opener, maybe every other year. It felt like at one point it was every year where, we played Washington and Dallas played the Giants to open it up. So, give me your thoughts on this home opener.
Yeah, it'd be exciting to see both squads actually. Now I had to take back for a second because I was gonna give a take, but see what Washington. I mean, they did
Mhm.
plug in a new linebacker. I still have a lot of questions for Washington. I really do. Um, who's their running back? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then they let go. Did they let go Zach Ertz?
Yeah, I don't think they brought him back
Yeah,
because
they
at one
didn't
point
bring.
he was supposed to come to us.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, man. And I mean, I see them fixing the line a little bit. Defensively, they got a couple players younger. I don't know what to say about Washington really because every single year it's almost like they have it in their palm to hit the switch. And you know what's even crazy? Let me drop another nugget for you. Do you know who is owns a piece of that Washington Commander team?
Talking about
Magic, right?
Magic Johnson, yeah.
And Magic Johnson has how many championships and rings
A lot.
just from ownership?
A
You
lot.
know, you know what I'm saying? And
Because
he's
doesn't he
looking,
have a piece of the Dodgers?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he owns a lot, quite a few teams across the board, and they all winning. Why isn't Washington? Magic. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he could infuse and maybe switch up some things and maybe have an influence on a winning culture. And I think he's trying to do that and trying to whisper, bringing in the coach and all that. But Jaden Daniels, he's gonna have to gain some weight. I'm gonna say what it is because he is a mobile quarterback, and you finna get hit by dudes that are twice your size. You know what I'm saying? So putting on some mass would help him out a little bit with injuries. How does he come back and perform without getting injured this year? Um, Knowing that he's been injured the last few years, the last 2 years actually, and seeing what Washington can really do, and to move that needle to where I'm looking at them as a four-place team right now in our division, and then for Philly, we answered the call. We did exactly what we're now. I understand. I'm not trying to be biased, and I'll try my best not to be biased on this show. But um, the only question mark is for me is the coaching staff. What are we going to do offensively that's going to look different? What is Jalen Hurts going to do this year that's going to make him stand out to be the dude when it's time to shut down Saquon Barkley? Is our offensive line? There's a question on our offensive line because we've been banged up for so many years. How are they going to look? Because everything's going to start from the trenches, right? Everything's going to start with how they perform is how Saquon's going to run, and how Saquon's going to run and open up the field is how Jalen Hurts going to get the ball down the field. It all works synergistically together, and I would love to see how the play calling is to relieve all that. I honestly think we in good hands with the three play callers that we have on our side: run, pass, and offensive coordinator. I think it's going to shift up. You're going to see a lot of different things that you haven't seen with the Philadelphia Eagles, which is really, really cool. And the only question marks are those for the Philadelphia Eagles. Defensively, I think we got extremely better. With the loss that we thought, I mean, we were like, damn, like we're losing some cast there, N'Kobe Dean, and the exciting whites get split up and things like that, and so we end up going and get Woolen, and then we turn around and get dudes on the line. I mean, we just reconstructed that whole defense again to be like elite again. So it's like I don't, and then you got Vic Fangio still there. So it's like your expectations is always going to be high. I do have a question mark at the safety position. Granted that Andrew Makuba comes back and he's as good as he was when he was a rookie, and he progresses and getting better, which I have faith that he will. How the other players will step into those roles like Campbell and those guys, and then rotationally, this is Jalen Carter's year with his fifth-year option, along with I believe Nolan Smith. So they're looking for a contract. One of them is going to get paid. One of them's not. That's funny. But outside of that, man, I really don't have. I think the Eagles really do exactly what the Eagles did in the NFC Championship in this game.
So it's a lot to unpack there. But let's start with Washington. So in the scope of what they're trying to build and get back to, in a sense, I think Washington is kind of a victim of their own success. So they drafted a quarterback, Jaden Daniels, out of LSU. Get that excitement going. They suspect that they may have their franchise quarterback. He comes out, he lights it up year one, to the tune of making it to an NFC championship. And it kind of puts them in a space where, oh, we got to push all our chips in. We need to uh we're basically one or two players away from making it back to that same success that we had in the first year. Um and I think they tried to skip some steps because of the success that they had early on. I think in some ways they may have benefited from having a 7-win season that first year as opposed to making it one game away from the Super Bowl, because it puts you in the mindset of, oh, we did that in year one with a rookie quarterback. Imagine what he's going to look like in year two. We add this piece and that piece, we're good to go. They trade for Lattimore at the trade deadline to, help them solidify their back end, because they saw what was in front of them. They felt like they had a chance to, potentially compete in the playoffs that year. And that we come back that next year and then everything kind of falls off the rails a little bit. You do have some of those injuries. You do have some of those pieces that you added not really pan out, either because they were too old, or this is the NFL. Everything looks good until we get on the field. And things don't just pan. Sometimes things don't pan out, and you also need a little bit of luck for you to go on any kind of run. Let's be honest here. Talent isn't enough to get you where you ultimately want to go. You also need the coaching, and like I said, the luck. But when it comes to Washington in particular, I think, just to restate that point, I think that they probably would have benefited more if they didn't even make the playoffs that year, because it puts them in a different mindset. It puts them in the mindset of, we do feel like we have our guy at the quarterback position, but we're so far from competing for a legitimate championship. Um, and you build the roster differently. Then obviously we, as Eagle fans or as an organization, we are in this run that we're on. We're always 4 or 5 pieces away from being a Super Bowl contending team year in and year out. Every team can't say that. Obviously, Washington couldn't say that. But you can kind of get blinded by success in that way. That was kind of a weird year. I don't want to take anything away from Washington, because that was a hell of a feat to make it to an NFC championship. We know how hard that is. So we had to congratulate them on that, while still recognizing that it was a lot of fortunate things that happened to allow that to happen. Uh, and as a Philly fan, an outsider looking in, it kind of set them up for failure in a sense. So now we fast forward to, this is year 3 of Jaden Daniels, coming off of injuries, and where do they go from here? They definitely made some nice moves this offseason. I like what they did in the draft with I think they got Sonny Styles at linebacker. Um, they made the change at offensive coordinator. So the offense probably will look a little different than this look his first 2 years in the league. Like you said, does he bulk up this offseason? I know when we talk about Lamar Jackson, he's kind of played around with his body type year in and year out. Some years he gains weight, some years he you know cuts weight because he didn't like how he felt. So we'll see if that actually makes a difference, or if he actually does that, because he does have a slender frame. I think Jaden Daniels is more dangerous when it comes to him being a threat in the run game as well. So obviously he has to protect himself from that standpoint. But I think when you look at considering the fact that our schedules have been so brutal over the past 2 to 3 years, this is a breath of fresh air. To be able to face a team that's you know coming off of a tough season, to be able to have a fresh start on our end, offensively especially. I know you mentioned from a holes perspective on Philly's side, we still do have a big question mark at the safety position, the opposite side of Andrew Makuba. I'm still holding out hope that we address that with when we get AJ Brown off the books in June. Maybe it can be a player for a player. Maybe it can be, AJ for. It's looking like picks, but I'm hoping that we can get a safety out of the deal potentially, depending on who his suitors are. Because you can't just tell me that it's just the Patriots. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that the Patriots are the only ones who are realistically putting a bid in for his services, because it's a lot of teams that feel like they could be an AJ Brown away. Um, and honestly, I don't know if the Patriots got a lot going on right now. They this AJ Brown thing is the least of their worries. Obviously, they could use him to help with the the growth of Drake May in year. This might be three. Is this year three for Drake May? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
year three for Drake May, coming off a Super Bowl loss. You need to find out if this is your guy. I know when you have that success early, as a fan, it's easy to say, "Oh yeah, no questions asked. This is our guy." But from the outside looking in, we got to know if this is a blip on the radar, or if this is truly a playmaker that we can compete for championships with. So you don't find that out until you give proper weaponry around them.
yeah. I gotta mention too, and it's not so much about okay. So the Patriots go, they pick up AJ Brown. They also got to play. They got to pay Gonzo,
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you pay two dudes? You know what I'm saying? That are gonna and AJ's probably gonna want that extent, and
Well, they
so
extended him though. They exercised his 5th year option, Gonzo. So they technically don't have to pay him till next year.
correct. So when they'll take over a piece of AJ's contract, then they have to rework it to where they both got to pay. They got to pay them both. That's going to be interesting all in itself. It's not our problem; will be their problem.
Right.
But then you got to look at suitors. So there is two other suitors. I believe it's the Chargers and the Raiders are both suitors that can take on that kind of contract. So in future
Right.
years. So yeah, I don't buy it either. I think that there's other suitors out there as well. And we will soon to find out. I'm a believer in thinking that AJ is not going anywhere. So that's until June the 2nd. So we'll find out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, finally. I
Yeah,
mean, this thing has been an issue since really last year.
yeah,
So I'm just ready for that part to come to a head. But go ahead and give me your prediction on this game in particular.
easy Eagles. Let's go.
Let's go. So we starting off 1-0.
Yeah,
Let me bring up the rest of the schedule. I don't know
beautiful.
if you can see that on your end.
Yep.
Um, but we got in week 2, hey, we got a young Tennessee Titans team. Still a lot of holes on that team. I would say traditionally they've had a decent defense, good to great style of defense, but they just haven't had anything to offer on the offensive side of the ball. Now this will be year 2 for Cam. I think that's his name. Is
Yeah,
that
Cam
Cam?
Ward.
Yeah,
Cam
yeah,
Ward. Yep.
Cam Ward. This will be year 2 for Cam Ward.
Right.
Um, wasn't really able to show a whole lot last year because they just lacked so much talent. Whether that's the offensive line or help on
Definitely.
the outside. Now they did address some of that in the draft. So
They did.
let's see how that comes to fruition this season. But initially, I'm feeling really good about this game. How
Yeah.
you feeling about it?
2-0.
2-0, baby. 2-0 out the gate.
I will
So
say I will say this before we continue. The really what I look at is the first 4 weeks because obviously we're not going to get our starters for the first 4 weeks. If we can get the whole ship moving, because for a minute there, it was hard for us to get going. The last I think 3 years, 4 years, maybe even, because the first 4 games were like playoff caliber teams that you got to face, and now obviously you got to face them, but when you're switching offensive coordinators the way that we've been switching them, you would love to get some type of momentum from your offense to buy into the system. So this right here in the first 4 weeks gives us that chance. So we start 2-0. When we start 2-0, that lets them buy into the system, and then we just get better from there.
Two
Walking
and
it.
one versus the Bears. That's a great segue, Ron. So, um, yeah, 2-0 going into the Bears. So the Bears, they kind of, I wouldn't say they exposed us, but they did catch us slipping last year on Black Friday. We saw how bad the offense ultimately ended up being, and they were that way all year long. We showed flashes of being semi-competent, but for the most part, it was just a bad offense. Our defense really carried the load all year long. If we had just a competent offense last season, we probably make it deep in the playoffs. But the fact that our offense was so bad, I think at one point we led the league in punts just because you knew we were going to run the ball twice. We were going to throw it on third down. The offensive line wasn't going to block, and it just was a repetitive cycle of mediocrity at best. So it was tough to watch. It was one of the more tougher seasons, especially offensively, to watch the Eagles, especially when you consider the fact of the talent that we had on the field. You never saw us click because we didn't really have a chance to. And then when we did have things semi together, AJ had his lip out. So you got to force feed him in spite of, it might have been the better move to check it down. It might have been the better move to run the ball. It might have been the better move to hit a open receiver versus having to force it to everybody on TV. Everybody in the stadium knows that AJ is frustrated and the ball is coming to him. So I'm sure it was much easier to defend when you know that they have to get the ball to one guy. And then when you consider our offensive coordinator lacking all imagination and play calling ability, it was just a frustrating season. So the Bears were able to take advantage of that. You got to tip their hat. They ran for a crazy amount of yards in our house on Black Friday, and it just helped. But I think that was one of those games where it kind of solidified what we were going to expect for the rest of the season. Because at this point, nothing much is gonna get is gonna change. We're not going to get necessarily better at that point because that's Black Friday. That's Thanksgiving. Your team is your team at that point. So that was kind of one of those times where you thinking, oh, we definitely aren't a Super Bowl caliber team, and this season could end badly. Uh, switching over to the Bear side of things. The Bears, so that was year 2 for Caleb Williams, and I would be one of the first ones to admit that I was not a fan of Caleb Williams coming into the NFL just because I wasn't really familiar with his game. I'm not a huge college football fan, but from what they were saying, they were already crowning him one of the best prospects to come out in a long time. He goes to the Bears. Year 1 was kind of rough. You can chalk that up to coaching. You can chalk that up to lack of weapons. I don't know if you can kind of chalk that up to a lack of weapons because he had a little something, but offensive line was an issue. Just really didn't wow anybody in year 1. Year 2, he gets Ben Johnson. Things look different. Uh, I would say in year 2, I saw enough flashes to kind of get behind what everybody else kind of had been thinking when it comes to him being a special talent. I saw that. I saw games where he would give you 2 plays that were amazing. Um, but at the same time, everything before that was kind of rough. But it was enough for me to say, okay, maybe it's validated to take him this high. Maybe, it was just coaching and, scheme and just another year under his belt that helped him kind of progress so people outside of Chicago could see how good this guy really is. So I think they built a pretty good structure in year 2 for him, and year 1 with Ben Johnson coming into this game right here. What are your thoughts facing the Bears in Chicago week 3?
Yeah, this is definitely a test, right? This will be one of those games where, to see what Caleb Williams is about in year 2 underneath, Ben Johnson's system, seeing how he can compete against the pace. Because one of the first things that I thought of when he went in his rookie season was the pace of the game was a little bit too fast for him. They had to slow it down, whether that's bringing in key pieces to, help with the defense, help defenders block so that he has enough time behind the pocket to make great decisions. Because once we've seen him, what we've seen from him is one of those things when you're under pressure, he really didn't know how to calibrate that, understand that. And just going back to last year, so at halftime, it was actually 10-3. So we was down by a touchdown. They didn't score anything in the third quarter. We did. We scored 6 points, right? So now we're looking at a 9-10 game. But in the fourth quarter, they outscored us 14-6 in that period. Now, Chicago did rush for 281 yards in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the biggest thing because Kyle ran for 130 with a touchdown, and D Swift ran for 125 and a score as well. So the run game, we just couldn't stop the run. Now, that's not going to be the case here, and that helped them. So that's 14 points right there off of the 20. They ended up with 24. So out of the it wasn't like Caleb was throwing for 3 touchdowns. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So what I'm saying is stopping the run. Obviously, they exposed that you can run on us, blah blah. And we was on a short week as well. No excuses. We still got to play football, but
Right.
that plays into the characteristics of the game. So they ran the ball extremely well against us. Um, and that wasn't me though. So when you say all, that was some Eagle fans were. But that being said, great game, a great showcase from um, their perspective from the Bears, showing that they could play offense and defense, holding us to how many field goals is that? 5 field goals.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't score a single time. So holding us to 5 field goals, there was some question marks, obviously, on our offensive end what we should have done, we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully we clean that up, and we kind of showcase what we could really do. But to have them in week 3, it's a great thing because then we can prove who we really are, and they're getting they got to figure out their pieces and what they got to do with them when we still have them. That's one thing that I will mention before I hand it over to you is that the Eagles do plan out 4 years in advance. That's what I love about the Eagles because we plan for the future. So what we gonna have or what we gonna get at least within our core, to where like you was saying, oh, the question mark is at safety, but I think we don't got Epps no more, huh?
Mm-mm. Well, yeah,
Yes.
we do. We still
Oh
got Ep.
yeah. So I mean, we still got Epps. So we got Marcus Epps. Even though there's a question mark back there, we still have somebody. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like one of those things where the rotation is great always on the offensive and defensive line. We know what we got in our linebackers. We know what we got in our running back. We have a big running back, and now we have a huge wide receiver core. So it's not like when we lose pieces, we don't have a backup or another man up. This is where Chicago Bears have to figure that out though, because they did lose, I believe, DJ Moore, correct?
Yeah, he's a
And so
Buffalo Bill now.
yeah, he's a Buffalo Bill now. So what they gotta show the league that they could do it without some of the guys that helped out in that passing game. And but I think they got a hell of a squad when it comes to running back. Caleb is coming into his own. He just got to prove it again, just like every other quarterback. But yeah, give us 3-0 on that one.
Yeah, obviously, when it comes to going to Chicago, you would want this game to be in September versus December because it can get pretty cold in the Windy City. Give
That was
me,
that was another factor
yeah,
too. Yeah. I'd rather them play now than play in the Windy City.
no facts. But yeah, at the end of the day, give me 3-0. Um, I still don't think. we still got it's a lot of questions that needs to be answered on both sides. But when it comes to it, that's one of those games where it's a step up in competition. So we got, we start off with Washington and Tennessee, and then we ramp up in week 3. So at this point in week 3, we should start to see our offense click. Um, Hopefully we see it from week 1, but historically speaking, we already know the first month around the league, everybody's still kind of figuring things out because nobody plays in preseason anymore. So not only do they not play, we only have 3 weeks of preseason for most teams, unless you are competing in the Hall of Fame game. But everybody else has just 3 preseason games to evaluate their young talent, and by the time you get into week 1, you're rusty. You haven't really played any live snaps with the ones due to all the CBA rules. I know that a lot of times they claim that they get good work in these joint practices, but I just can't. At the end of the day, it's practice. You can have a hard practice, and I think that there certainly is something to practicing hard, but at the end of the day, it's still practice. It's something to that live reps that you get when it actually matters, that just ramps up the intensity, just like the regular season being different from the playoffs. It's a different level of intensity that you can't emulate it. You can try your best, but at the end of the day, nothing can replace live reps with the ones.
And you don't know what the offensive defensive of another team is going to give you, where
Right.
the Eagle team is, they pretty much know each other. I will tell you this, that the Bears do have the Panthers, the Vikings, and then us. So that Vikings game might be interesting before they play even us, where we got Washington and Tennessee. So that might play in our favor as well.
Yeah, we
But
still don't. I'll be interested to see who's the quarterback at that point. Is Kyler Murray the starter? Does he win outright?
100%.
Yeah. So I mean, we it's still
Well,
some question marks there.
yeah, I answered them for you.
So we both agree it's 3-0 at this point. Um, so we come back home. The Los Angeles Rams. So this is it feels like a division game at this point because we play them every year, and we have seen success. I would say it feels like since 2017 we just don't lose to the Rams. We don't. Um, for whatever reason, it seems like we have their number. We always pull out some miraculous thing, even when it's close. Last year was amazing. It seemed like we were headed for a blowout at home, and then we decided to take off. We decided to throw the ball to AJ Brown. Really, that was the end of it. We also had to make some tweaks on the offensive line because we put Big Fred in with Lane John. I don't know if Lane Johnson was out or he got hurt, but whoever we had over there just wasn't cutting it. Verse was getting whatever he wanted. Whoever really they put over there was getting whatever they wanted. So we had to solidify that right tackle position. We threw Big Fred in there. Thankfully, we had made the move weeks prior to bring him back from Jacksonville to be able to have a chance. So we bring him back, we throw him over there at halftime, and then the offense starts to look like an offense at that point. And we make some big plays. AJ has a huge game. We get to the point where we take the lead in the fourth quarter. Um, and then they
Blocked
go on
blocked a
there.
couple blocked a couple field goals.
Yeah. We blocked a couple field goals, but we at that point, at the point before we even get to that one, we had already blocked one with Jalen Carter, I believe. And the Rams go on a nice drive, game winning drive. They get in the field goal range. They feeling pretty good about themselves. And what do you know? Jordan Davis puts his big claw up there, blocks it, to we already had the win at that point, but he seals it by picking it up and continuing to take it 30-40 yards down the field for a touchdown, just to add insult to injury. um a testament to all the work that he put in the offseason, because I remember years prior, he would not have been able to do that. He probably just jumps on the ball, and we still celebrate the win, but it just doesn't have that same oomph. So come obviously we get the win. We snatched that victory from him. Uh, but how do you feel about this matchup at home against the Rams?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one because just like Tampa Bay was a matter of fact, we don't got Tampa Bay this year,
Nope.
but
Finally.
just yeah, we got Jacksonville instead, but that's cool. Um, just like we've been Tampa Bay was a thorn on our side. We finally get over the hump. I feel like this is the game that the Rams are like the Eagles been a thorn in our freaking side. We got to do something about this,
They
right?
had this game
Yeah,
last year.
yeah. And so, with that being said, that could be a game where it could actually go either way. I think it goes down to play calling. I think it goes down to turnovers and game management. Who controls and possesses the ball more. But I can't get away from the fact that we are at home and not over there. You know what I'm saying? So, bro, this is so hard. This is so hard because I do want to say 4-0, but I also want to say 3-1.
I mean, this is the first game where I'm like, yeah, that could go either way. And I am interested to see how they've addressed the back end, because obviously they traded for um Trent McDuffie. So they have him. They had a number one, they already had a number one cornerback. So I'll be interested to see how much they fixed the back end, because that was the main reason why we were able to come back last year.
Yeah, I'll say 3-1. I say we drop,
Okay. Okay.
redrop
So
to the
you got
round for
you got
the sake of not going undefeated this season. Um, because I'll just say that this is where we go. We lose one.
all right. So this is where we kind of part ways a little bit, because I got 4-0 here.
Yeah,
Especially with it being at home, familiar opponent. Um, it's pretty much is a
that's
division game for us.
yeah, it's stuck in my
Um,
mind. The fact that we're at home just makes me want to believe that we're gonna
we
be 4
don't
0.
we typically don't lose at the link.
And
Uh,
and that's the reason why I want to say 4-0. But the sake of just not being the same,
yeah, but you good. You good.
for the sake of not being the same, and let me do 3-1. Let me do 3-1 because
Safe.
okay,
We'll make it up on the back end. We got a
yeah,
long we got a long schedule.
we're gonna have probably the same record
Probably
at the
at the
end.
end of it.
Yeah,
So I got 4-0. You got 3-1. Then we take a trip across the pond, as they would say. We go to London to face the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is starting to feel like they might be the London Jaguars in a few years.
okay.
They've started over the past couple of years spending a couple weeks in London. So this will be the first of two games that they play in London.
They
So
usually
obviously
play two.
they stick, huh?
They usually play two. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So this will be the first of two that they play. I'm not sure who they played that following week, but I so here's the thing with me and Jacksonville. So I'm still not a true believer in Trevor Lawrence. I do like what they're doing offensively with year two with their new head coach. He did some good things last year. Competed for that division. Obviously, the Colts got off to an amazing start that kind of flamed out after Daniel Jones got hurt. But unbelievable defense, offense. They've had some pieces for a while now. Last year was kind of one of those years where, in my opinion, it kind of bailed Trevor Lawrence out. Um, so it kind of bought him maybe an extra year or two. Um, Still, it really, I don't know, man. And for me, everybody has their handful of guys that they just aren't sold on. That's one of those guys for me. And when I see him on the schedule, um, I always feel good about that matchup. Tell me how you feel about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I think Jacoby Myers is what changed that offense.
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
addition, just like you would say, Snead. Oh, I just went blank.
What team?
The Seahawks.
Oh, you talking about Shaheed?
Shaheed. Sorry, I don't say Snead. Okay, Shaheed. Just like how Shaheed changed the offense over there in Seattle, I believe that Jacoby Myers did the same thing over there in Jacksonville. Now, with that being said, you know that still doesn't move the needle against us, right? Like
Right.
it does in their division, shakes up some things, how they play their division, and I think I agree with you. I think that they got better
Mhm.
offensively, and seeing Trevor Lawrence, I'd like to see him for a full year again and see what he could do with the system that he has to become successful. But I don't see us dropping one here.
They don't have to.
It's gonna be a little bit before we drop one. So give me four. I guess I'll be 4-1 now. Now moving into the London games, that is a game that we do have to fly out to. Um, so it does affect. I believe that they count that as a home game, correct?
For them.
For them? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
cool.
they didn't take any of our home games away this year, thankfully.
Oh, thank God. All right, so it's a home game for them. Which is cool. And playing at home, it'll be a longer flight from LA to I believe to London, right? Than it would be from Philly to London. So
I heard that that was a 5.5 hour flight for them. I don't know how true that is, but if that is true, that's not bad.
that's not bad at all. Not bad at all. But yeah, that's what I
So
have for
you
them. I
got this
mean,
as what? I missed that.
as a W.
All right, so you got us at 4-1.
Yeah.
Um, damn, I got to roll with 5-0.
Yeah.
I got us at 5-0. So I mean, this isn't unfamiliar territory to us. When we have things clicking, I think we've gotten up to what, 9? Have we got up to like 9 wins? That's our record.
Yeah.
Starting off
Not
a season.
yeah.
Yeah, starting off a season 9-0. So yeah, I'm at 5-0. You're at 4-1. Um, then we come back home. So we get a mini bye at this point because obviously, whenever you go overseas, the league does make sure that you get a mini bye. So we come back home on October 18th to play the Carolina Panthers, which is my wife's team. Um, so the Panthers are tricky. So last year we got to go back a little bit. So last year when we previewed the season, um, we saw some of the moves that they were making, and you were a fan of the Panthers and potentially winning the division. They ended up pulling that off. We already
I
know
was
what they.
I was hard up on it.
Yeah, you was, and ended up being right. Um, Defense, we already know what we come to expect from them defensively. The question mark was Bryce Young the guy? Can he take that next step to show us that he was worth that number one overall pick? Um, I don't know if they've necessarily given him enough to do so. So I mean, Ted McMillan had a nice season.
He
Um,
did.
Leggett still has something left to be desired. Um, I did like their tight end that they had last year. I can't remember his
Trimmel.
names.
Trimmel.
It was Trimmel, but I think they had somebody named Sanders too. He wore number 0 last year. Drawing a blank on his name, whatever. But I say all that to say that they are a feisty bunch. They're not one of those teams that you typically look at on the schedule and say that you're worried about them. But
Used to.
yeah, but I mean they play hard. They play
Yeah.
hard and last year, honestly, they took the Rams to the brink both times they played them. So obviously
Yeah.
they played them once in the regular season. They beat them. They played them again in the playoffs, and it was a good game until they just, the talent disparity there just ultimately sometimes talent does win games when it comes to especially in the playoffs. But I feel good about this matchup. I got us going 6-0. What you got?
Yeah, we got to get over this. Yeah, we got to get over this narrative thinking that Carolina is the best in the South. Now that kind of go against what everything I said last year. I think it's a little bit different this year with no. I believe they don't got no Rico Dottle now.
No,
Uh,
he's in Pittsburgh now.
now he's in Pittsburgh, right? And so now that give all the load to Chuba
Chuba.
and yeah, Chuba, and now we kind of see what we are going to do or what they going to do offensively when the load is all on him, and kind of see what they look like now that I think it's a lot easier to play um, when your name is not on somebody's back, or how do you say? I don't know the saying, or target. Yeah, target's not on
Target.
your back, right? So one of the things is that you could play freely. You know what I mean? When
Mhm.
you look at the schedule and be like, "Oh, that's a W," and then you go in there and then you get beat, right? Or you get it's competitive and you're like, "Oh, dang, now I could fumble this game," And they did that for the last 2 years, and so um, although they are getting better or sustainable, where you look at them and say, we got to play Carolina. It's not a team that we just have a check mark on. We got to play them. I think that we have that now, where we have to play them, and so they are a division winner, right? So we got to treat them as such. And I think that the whole division got shook up too, and being like, okay, they won division, they can't win it again. We're gonna have to shake it up. So with that being said, again, it's one of those things that we have to look at Carolina differently, and it's not one of those teams that you could just overlook on your schedule anymore. And I think with that being said, I'm going to give us a W on that. I'm going to give us a W.
So
It's
that's
out.
5-1.
That's at home, and yeah.
So another note that I didn't even think about until you started speaking. Um, yeah, they are the division winner, but we got to realize how we got here too. So last year, I had to give you your props. You were right, but they kind of backed into that division championship. So um, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers started off hot. They had an MVP candidate at quarterback. They were looking strong, and predicted to be in the mix for a Super Bowl run. And then injuries happen, they fall off the rails. Um, we do end up getting a win over them in Philly. I think we were in Philly. Uh, I don't remember, but we did end up beating them though. I
We
don't
were
remember
in
if it was
Tampa.
in
It
Philly.
was
Okay,
in
it was
Tampa.
in Tampa. Uh, so we did beat them. And then the Falcons. The Falcons came on strong. So obviously they had a nice pass rush. Bijan Robinson was going and doing Bijan things. So when they kind of picked up the torch whenever Tampa Bay started falling off the rails. But then ultimately they ended up dropping games that they didn't have any business losing, and they opened up the door. They opened up the door for the Panthers to come in. They snuck in at the last minute. As a matter of fact, it came down to the Week 18 game where they actually lost that game, but because of how the strength of schedule and stuff worked, they ended up getting the nod. They win the division by default, and you know, can't take anything away from them. Technically, they won the division, but let's not forget how they got here. So, even though they are the NFC South champs, it kind of was like, yeah, but we can kind of see why that happened, But we can't take anything away from them because the games that they did win, they did look good. Um, they took the Seahawks to the brink, which ultimately ended up being the 2025 champs, which you can't take anything away from them either. Uh, but let's see what they do this year. I got them. I got us winning that game. That's a home game for us. Like I said, we typically just don't drop games in the link. Um, so I got us at 6-0, headed in to our first matchup against the Dallas Cowboys at home on my birthday. So Uh,
Nice.
when
Nice.
when it when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, coming into last year, they make a big splash trade to add George Pickens to the fold. Now, as a Dallas Cowboys hater of sorts, I'm over here hoping that it doesn't pan out. I'm like, oh, he's gonna crash out. He's gonna he's gonna be buried on the bench by week 6. But it was quite the opposite. He came there. I wouldn't say he unlocked the offense because when Dak is healthy, the Cowboys typically have a top offense in the league. That just is what it is. They're a great regular season team. No different last year. So takes a ton of pressure off of CD. And at times when CD was hurt, he was able to be the number one option, to the tune of 1,300 yards. I believe he made the Pro Bowl, um, earned himself a pretty hefty bag, but then he got franchised, which guarantees him the minimum of what 27, 28 million this year. So it still remains to be seen if he's actually going to play on the tag. He did sign it, so that's good news for them. But there's still the potential for a hold in. We still haven't um, seeing what he's going to do in camp. Is he going to show up and all of a sudden have some phantom back injury? We don't know. The Cowboys typically operate in chaos this time of the year, but with them putting a franchise tag on him, it kind of ties his hands in certain regards where he can't not show up at all, but he can do a hold in potentially, or he could just play and double down and bet on himself, play on this franchise tag, and go elsewhere because I don't see them paying two wide receivers top dollar. What he's going to command if he doesn't necessarily have to have the same season that he had last year. If he has half the season that he had last year, um, he's going to get a pretty nice bag in the offseason. And as we know, thing things just don't go well when we talk about contract negotiations in Dallas for whatever reason. Um, that being said, outside of how they've handled George Pickens, I would say they've done some pretty good business this offseason. Atypical of what the Dallas Cowboys do in the offseason. So they had a great draft. They actually helped us get Lemon, so thank you for that. Um, They got Downs, one of widely considered one of the best players in the entire draft at safety. They did some key things before the trade or at the trade deadline last year in trading for Quentin Williams out of from the Jets. They brought in Kenny Clark in the trade with getting Micah Parsons out of there. They added some more pieces as well that I'm drawing a blank on. But overall, I do like a lot of the moves that they made. They did draft uh, Malachi Lawrence in as their second first round draft pick, um, at edge rusher. So that remains to be seen. Now they did take an edge rusher last year too that had didn't really make a whole lot of noise, but he did come on as the season progressed. So I think that they've at least attempted to address the defense, which was their Achilles heel last year. Offense was okay. It was nothing that you could point to. As a matter of fact, even the run game, which nobody expected them to have a great run game with Javonte Williams, ended up being one of the best. He was a top 10. They were a top 10 rushing team last year. A lot of that could be attributed to the fact that you had to worry about CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens on the outside and have a light box. So they were able to take advantage of that, even though they had injuries across the offensive line. Um, so with them coming to Philly, and because I can't just obviously we're not going to go 17-0. I actually got us losing this game on my birthday. Sad to say, but my birthday gift will be a L wrapped in a bow. What you got?
Yeah, I love everything you address. Dak Prescott's one of the best, one of the best regular season quarterbacks, and we've seen it before with Tony Romo as well. But outside of that, I think you addressed it well. Appreciate you. You addressed it well, man. Defensively, we would like to see it all put together.
Right.
And I think by week 7 they should have at least know what they got by week 7. Now they did get one of our coaches, right?
Hmm.
He's
Christian
over
Parker.
there. Yep, he got Christian Parker over there, so that's going to help him out defensively. But I do see us losing here because I see us splitting,
Hmm.
and I see us winning on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So if we could talk about that right off the gate, that's what I see. I see us splitting. So let me go ahead and take the L here, but the W on Thanksgiving for sure.
Yeah. And like I said, obviously we can't win them all, and there's always a game on the schedule where you feel pretty good about that ends up not going your way, whether it's due to injury, maybe a coin flip of a situation where it just comes down to whoever gets the ball last. But we typically have pretty good matchups with Dallas. Like it's never really a one-sided affair. It usually comes down to a score or two.
Now I will say this on record: if we end up beating them on week 7, because I'm almost 100% that we're winning in week 12.
Hmm.
If we end up beating them in week 7, we sweeping. You know, we sweeping. So that's what I have. I either we lose, which I'm gonna say we split with them just to be cool. We split with them because I know on Thanksgiving I have a weird feeling that we win in that game. I probably bet on it.
Hey, I'm never going to turn down sweeping the Cowboys if possible. I'd love to go 6-0 every year in the division. But this is another thing is we are back to back
Who do they
NFC
have?
East champs. We're back to back NFC East champs, and we're trying to go for a three-peat. I don't know if that's ever been done in the NFC East. If so, it hasn't been done in a long time.
Hasn't been done in a long time, but it has been done.
Okay.
And I think we were the team to do it, I believe.
Well, I know the
Actually, we
repeat
were
the
actually,
repeat was 20 years ago, and we were the last team to do it in that 20-year span. But I'm saying the three-peat.
yeah, I'm that same year that we doubled down, the year before that, the two, for the
Uh-huh.
year, I believe we won 3.
Okay. That was the Andy Reid era then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, we were going to NFC championships left and right. So I mean, it's not a shock to think that, we were the last ones to three-peat as well. So at this point, we got, yeah, 94 said not in recent memory. And when we talk about the Cowboys, that's a common theme anyway, not in recent memory. Um, I got is that the first game I got? Is that the first game I got us losing? Yeah,
Yeah.
so at this point it's 6-1, and you are at what? 4-2?
I got us losing to the Rams and the Cowboys there. Yep.
Yep. So you're at 4-2. Um, then we go to
Yeah.
week.
So 2004. So 2000. Oh wait a minute. 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004 division winner.
Okay, so since us, it hasn't
Yeah.
been done since us. So if anybody,
Dallas actually Dallas has 92, 93, 94, 95, and 96.
okay, that sounds about
Uh,
right.
and then
Because I mean,
outside of that,
that
and then
was
you got
back.
back in the day, 82, 83, 84 was the Redskins. They were called the Redskins back then. And
Right.
then Dallas did it again 76, 77, 78, 79. St. Louis Cardinals back to back. But we're going way back now. So
Yeah, because
in the 2000s, in the 2000s, yeah, 2001, 2002, 2003, and 2004, we did it 4 times. So
okay, so
um,
I mean, we're going for three. a three-peat has been done before, and it has been done by everybody in the division. It sounds like. Well, I didn't hear you mention the Giants, so maybe
Giants,
they didn't do it, but
no.
it has been done in the division by multiple teams before. We're going to,
But
try
since
to.
2000, so when it
It's
really
only been us.
matters, yeah, it's only been us.
Yeah,
No, and then it's been traded off since then
yeah.
until us again now.
Okay, I
So
feel real good about a potential three-peat. So I mean, at this point, I got us at 6-1. You got us at 4-2. Still respectable. I take either one. 4-2 definitely is nothing to sneeze at. So at that point, we go week 8. This is the
sweet.
second time we've seen Washington. We actually go to Washington for this one. You got us winning that one. You got us
Yeah,
pulling out the broom.
you know what chicharrones are?
Mm-mm.
That's when you bake the skin of a pig. When you fry the little things, and they're called chicharrones. And that's what they are, bro. They're gonna be chicharrones.
I guess. I
I get,
guess I
I
got
get
it. I got to sweep in this one too. Well,
it. Just go with it.
I'm gonna
No, you're
in
not.
fairness, yeah. In
No,
fairness,
nah.
because I already, went kind of crazy. Um, I'm gonna say we split with Washington.
Well, there's plenty of
Um,
more games we could have choose from. It ain't gonna be Washington.
well, it's not a lot of tough games on the schedule, so uh
I see a couple on the right side.
division games can be tricky anyway. So I'm gonna give us the L in Washington, which
Okay.
which gives me what, 6-2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 6-2 at this point.
Hmm.
And then we go see our other little brothers, the New York Giants. So, but these aren't your day balls Giants now. These are this is a new regime in town.
Yeah.
So we got John Harbaugh coming to New York for the first time ever after his long tenure with the Baltimore Ravens, making it to one Super Bowl, and win. Yeah, he just won one Super Bowl with them, and then never really just panning out with Lamar Jackson. So he's got a fresh start. They've got some pretty good moves this offseason.
They
Obviously,
did.
they had 2 first-round draft picks, so they took Arvell Reese, and then they took one of the best, if not the best, tackles uh, out of Miami. I can't really pronounce his name, so I don't. But still a solid pickup. Um,
Sexy Dexy's out of there though.
yeah, Dex is gone. So I'll be interested to see how they try to replace him, because he was a huge part of their success in the pass rushing game. They were one of the best teams at getting to the passer. Uh, but Dexter Lawrence had a lot of those double teams, took on a lot of those double teams, and allowed, Brian Burns and Thibodeau and Carter to, rush the passer. So that remains to be seen if they've done enough, or maybe they feel confident about the guys that were behind Dexter Lawrence. Uh, but that remains to be seen. But I typically don't worry about this matchup with the Giants, even though we really don't know what to expect out of Harbaugh's Giants. What you got?
You got neighbors coming back, by the way. Uh,
Yeah. He's coming
neighbors will
back.
be back for the offense. You got Kim Scatterbo, right, coming back for the offense. You get another year with Dart. This is the part of the season where it becomes really interesting.
I
Yeah,
mean,
Sexy Dexy was nice.
that's a huge loss for him.
Yeah. That was. This is the part of the season where you start having questions, right?
Yep.
Like, can Dart stay healthy without getting a concussion? Is
Right.
Cam Scatterbo gonna stop hitting his head on everything that he can physically see?
Right.
You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
Like,
is neighbors going to be nicked up at this point?
yeah, is Neighbors gonna pan out and finish the season? How is he gonna come back from injury after 9 weeks? Like, who is gonna be healthy and who's not? That's the
Right.
part of the season with the Giants that you trying to figure out, right? And so I say we split with them, but for a different reason. I
Mhm.
say We win this game, but we lose because we have all of our starters out in week 18.
Gotcha.
So, and I'm not even saying that we could lose then in 18
Right.
because I mean we got a pretty solid second quarter as well.
Hmm.
But if well, I had to choose, to split, it's going to be splitting with the Giants, but it will be in week 18 we lose to them. I wouldn't
I'm
be surprised
loving
if we sweep.
I'm loving how the schedule is shaping out when it
Yes, sir.
comes to the degree of difficulty. It seems like we kind of ramp up. Uh, CEO calls. But we kind of ramp up the season with, some layups, and then it progressively gets a little harder as the season goes on. We do get the mini bye after going to London, which is always great. Then, we kind of get into the meat of our schedule, three division games back to back. I mean, it doesn't get any tougher than that. So we got three division games back to back. I do have us winning this game, by the way. But on the other end of this Giants game and the division gauntlet, we got a bye. I'm a really big fan of having a bye around the midway point. It's a long physical season, and these players just need a break. They need a breather to get away from everything, because at this point they've played 9 games, uh you know high level football at this point. And if it's panning out the way that I'm thinking, at this point we are 7-2. We're 7-2 heading into the bye. I think you got us at what?
7-2.
Okay, so we already caught up. We're 7-2 at this point, going into the bye. A really great place to be. It's hard to foresee us being 7-2 and not being in first place in the division. But if that is the case, so be it. But I suspect us to be at the top of the division, if not at the top of the entire NFC, because that's a really good start. At 7-2. So we get a chance to rest, and then we have a home game against Pittsburgh, which, in my opinion, that's a layup. Um, I don't know if Rodgers is going to come back. Everything is kind of pointing to him being the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they made some interesting moves. So we mentioned them picking up Rico Dowdle at the running back position. We know that they brought in Pittman uh, out of Indianapolis to go with DK Metcalf. Um, they've been trying to retool that offensive line for Aaron Rodgers, and I think they've done a good job in doing so. So it's really weird when it comes to the Steelers in general, because you see you see what they're trying to do, but I really just don't understand it, because instead of having a lean season, they would rather bring in a vet that's going to give you that 9-8 feel, get you right into the playoffs, but also keep you in draft purgatory, where at the end of the season, yeah, you technically have a winning season. So you're going to draft in the mid rounds. You're going to miss out on the quarterback every time. Obviously there's always a diamond in the rough, so you can't bank on getting a Jalen Hurts in the second round. You just can't do that. Um, for most teams, they get their difference maker in the top 5. But they don't put themselves in the position to draft that high ever. And this season is no different. Actually, they actually won the division last year because the Ravens had a weird year, for whatever reason. Lamar's hurt, but even when he was there, they just wasn't defense wasn't panning out. Um, which ultimately led to them parting ways with Harbaugh altogether. But that's not Pittsburgh's business. They just play hard nosed football. They ended up getting the division, first round boot, yada yada yada. It's rinse and repeat with them at this point. So they have Mike McCarthy as their head coach. So that furthermore solidifies my thought process of Rodgers coming back. But what you got on that one?
Yeah, I got easy. I mean, I got us winning that game.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I mean, we don't even know who the quarterback is at this point. We don't. We've seen Mike McCarthy's
Offense.
coaching
Oh, team.
ability. Yeah,
Yeah.
his teams before. So very familiar with that. Really don't know what they got. They trying to figure it out, or we already figured it out by then. Give me the Eagles.
All right. So that I got us winning that one too. So that's 8-2 for both of us. So we got eight. We're 8-2. We're headed into this Turkey Day matchup, which we already said you had us winning this game regardless.
Regardless,
Um,
100%,
I said
100.
that we lost the first one, so obviously we typically split with the Cowboys. So I got us winning this one as well. So that's 9-2. We having a
Good
great
Thanksgiving Day.
we're having a great Thanksgiving.
Bad
Great
birthday.
Thanksgiving.
Bad birthday. Good
Hey, hey,
Thanksgiving.
hey, people have had worse birthdays. So but yeah, so we're 9-2. Um going
Now,
to yeah, go ahead.
as we stay on this NFC scheduling, I don't know if you have told the millions of the down south Philly show fans, but
That's respectable, Mark. I can deal with that. 7-3.
so for the millions and millions of down south Philly fans, I don't know if you told them along with the SLM fans uh, that are from ages 0 to 100. I don't think you told them. I'm not sure. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but told them like who has the easiest schedule to the 32 hardest schedule, especially in within division because obviously that matters going into it. But easiest starting at number one was the Browns,
Mhm.
and obviously the hardest is the Green Bay Packers. But for the
Right.
sake of just the NFC, and you guys can look this up, NFC um, easiest schedule would be first one that I see on here would be the Washington Commanders at 10, and then you
Mhm.
got the Giants following up at 11, and then Dallas Cowboys at 14, and then you got us at 17. So we just like right in the middle of the pack. So as much as we love this schedule and things like that, these dudes are having a similar type of schedule. So
Mhm.
that plays into the factor as well when we're talking about because I know you said earlier about being 8-2 or 7-3, whatever we come up with, right? That we could be in first place. These other teams like Dallas could be on our heels too if being that they are what did I say they were 14
Mhm.
14 easiest schedule, so that's something to keep in mind too.
Yeah, and I mean, we already know what Dallas brings to the table, right? So whenever Dak is healthy, they will have something to say when it comes to this division because we kind of when we're not busy repeating, we do trade off with Dallas. We do typically, you know, if it's a down year for us and Dallas, then Washington may sneak in there at some point. But when it comes to us getting ultimately to where we want to go, Dallas never really stops us from doing so. If we are the team that we feel that we could be by this point, even if they do have a solid record, even if they take the division, I'm still confident that we still have the ability to go on a deep playoff run. If we, health comes into that and obviously, a lucky run comes into that. But with that being said, we do got a stretch of games where I think it's like three. Do we have three home games back to back? I felt like us. Yeah, yeah. So we do have a stretch of games. So all right, so we go.
14
We're
and
not.
16.
We're 9-2, headed to Arizona.
W.
That's a W. So that's 10-2. Um, it's not a whole lot to say about that. It's Jacoby Brissett. They do have love, so
No, they
obviously,
have Carson back though, bro. What are we talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're not. We're not. Um, I got that as a dub. So that's 10-2 right there. And then we have a stretch of 3 games where we come home to the link, and we don't leave for almost a month. So the first game is the Indianapolis Colts. By this point, you would think that Daniel Jones will be back. That could be a sneaky game for us. That's
It
a
could be.
sneaky good game for us.
It'd be a
Um,
sneaky game.
I'm gonna go ahead, even though we typically don't lose at the link. This is the type of game that we lose. Um, for whatever reason, we just don't show up. It's a long season. You name it. Maybe they just have our number this day. But Shane Steichen will be returning to the link for the first time, I believe, since the 2022 season. Uh, I actually got us losing this game. Um, yeah, 10-3.
I
What you
don't
got?
yet. I don't got us losing yet.
No.
Nope.
So you got 11-2.
Yeah.
11-2 with the reigning Super Bowl champs coming to town. The Seattle Seahawks and Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks coming to town. I actually feel good about this game. I say we win this game.
I
Yeah,
say we win. I say we win too. This is one of those games that is going to be those one of those down in the trenches, grit, like real physical games.
right.
Defense versus defense. Uh, you know, a low scoring game. I believe this is the one of the lowest scoring games you probably would see. But I say we get after Sam Darnold. We get after his lucky charm looking. No, I'm gonna stop there. We get after Sam Darnold, right? And we force him to do things that Sam Darnold loves to do. That's turn over the football, guys.
Hey,
It's
hey,
it ain't no secret.
revenge game for Rick Woolen. I'm
And
just
yeah,
saying.
and that
I'm
too,
just saying.
and he knows him too. I don't see us losing this game. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I got us winning this one
I
for
got
sure.
us winning that one too. So
So then we have the Houston Texans coming to town. So the
this
biggest
is
the
where,
big
yeah,
question mark with this one is we saw how Stroud ended the season last year. Um, and to say that he would like to have that season back is an understatement. So with that, they actually didn't exercise his 5th year option. So this is a proof of year for him. If it pans out, he could be looking at a nice bag because we already know what quarterbacks make in this league. But he could also potentially be a free agent after this season. So it's a lot riding on the success of the Houston Texans, the success of CJ Stroud. Um, I think with considering that,
also add the fact
uh
that by now division winning playoffs are intact. There's a
everything
lot
matters.
go, there's
Everything matters at this
yeah,
point.
a lot of things
Yeah,
is happening around this time.
and they're probably going to be in a battle with a Jaguar. They're probably going to be in the conversation with the Colts. So I got us losing that game. So
Me too.
I got us winning, beating the Seahawks, but losing to the Colts and the Texans before we go to San Francisco and the power plant the first of the year.
You beat me to you beat me to it. You beat me to it.
But I feel like this is a sneaky revenge game for us. Obviously, we know how things ended. Um, Playing them in the playoffs, AJ selling us out. The offense or AJ and Patullo selling us out. The offense never really panning out how we wanted it to pan out last year. And them just taking advantage of all of that. So even so, here's the thing that
Before
isn't
you
widely
before you
talked about.
before I don't mean to cut you off. Before you
Yeah.
continue though, back to the Houston's though. This is where Reed Blankenship comes back to
Oh,
Philly
this is
as
a
well.
revenge game for him. A
Yeah.
revenge game for Ed Reed Blankenship is what I call
Yeah. So this is
him.
where he comes back to the exciting whites. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
so I mean, this could be one of those revenge games. I got us losing that game, but like I said,
Get back to the power plant. Yeah.
we're going back to the power plant. This is a get back game for us. Like you
Yeah.
said before, we'll be vying for hopefully a 1 seed at this point.
Mhm.
Um, And with the win, maybe this could lock up a 1 seed for us. Maybe. It's way too early to tell, obviously. But I got us winning this game. I got us winning this game. Um, that's really all I got on that one. I got us winning this
I
game.
thought you froze for a second. I was like, wait, did the stream froze or
Got you.
yeah, yeah, no. Uh, yeah, can 49ers be healthy in week 17?
That's the thing. Every year with them.
Are they going to be healthy enough to play a Philadelphia Eagle team in week 17? I think that's the question mark there.
Mhm.
Because if they could be healthy, that would be more of a game.
Right.
I have us winning either way, but it'll be more of a game considering the fact that they are healthy. I just don't see them being healthy though, which raises even more for me to go the opposite direction and say we finna win that game.
Mm.
So I got us winning in San Francisco, and hopefully we don't stay long because, um, yeah, EMF is real over there.
Let's see, 9-2. I got us winning that game. 10-2, 11-3, 12-3, 12-4, 13 and 13-4 by my count for me.
14
At
and 14-3 for me right now.
14-3. Now
Or
heading
or wait, 13-3.
thirteen
Go,
three,
yeah,
13
going
and
into the 18. I have us going 13-4 for
13
the
and 4 overall.
overall because I feel like we will drop that game in 18, no starters, uh, in week 18. Now we
Now
could win that.
that game is always tough to predict at this point because we just don't know. We don't know one if our starters are going to be in, but obviously you're predicting our starters to be out, and them just playing hard just because it's a hardball led team.
Yeah.
Um, I do have us winning in San Francisco, so I mean at this point I got us at 13 wins myself. Um, I guess I'll end it with 13-4. 13-4. That should put us right in the mix for hopefully a 1 seed, unless Sam Darnold pulls another 14-win season out of his behind. Um, that we'll be in a great spot. 13 wins. You assume that we will have the division with 13 wins, but like you said, being in the same division, we have a similar schedule. So the success that we've seen with these teams, they could potentially see with these teams. I foresee Dallas being our coming into the season being our biggest competition for the division, just because typically that's how it goes. Maybe Washington has something to say about that. Maybe Harbaugh has a lucky first year. Um, beginner's luck in the division. But it remains to be seen. From a prediction standpoint, I would say we obviously go for the three-peat. 13 wins should put us in position for a 1 seed, and that highly coveted first round bye. Because as we know, the first round bye is basically guaranteeing that you make it to that it does guarantee that you make it to the second round. Guarantees you that home game once you get to the second round, and anything can happen in the playoffs. So we've seen teams have promising seasons and get booted in the first round by a lesser opponent just because that's one of the beautiful things
You
about the
secretly
NFL.
you secretly
Huh?
saying the Lions right now?
The Lions what?
Getting booted with the first round.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What's
yeah,
wrong
yeah.
with
Yeah, we know how that went.
oh,
We know how that went. But yeah, teams like that. So I feel really good about a 13-win season, man. How you feeling about that at this point?
yeah, I think our floor is 13-4, but I think our ceiling is 15-2. I really do.
Ooh.
Yeah, 15-2. I think that we could definitely do it. Again, like it, again on my schedule, the ones that I'm looking out is like, beating the Rams is important, right? If we beat the Rams, that takes off another loss that I had. The capability of beating Dallas early in 7, and then us being at home on your birthday, that takes another loss off. And then really the only other losses that I have is, Houston will be a tough one, right? And I believe, what was the other one that I had? Um, Maybe even Seattle. Uh,
Yeah.
could be tough. I
And
don't
that's
see us
that's no
losing.
gimme. That's no gimme. That I can see that going either way.
Yeah. So I mean, late in the season, trying to win division. Seahawks trying to win it you know, with the Rams battling back and forth, things like that going on. You could see them trying to win that. I mean, those two games, 15 and 16, we can actually drop,
Hmm.
and we'll be 15-2. All the other ones are we got to just play Eagle football, and we could literally just go ahead and we could be undefeated going into the bye, win those next 4 games, and then actually take an LL and then win-win. You know what I'm saying? And so we could be so the ceiling is 15-2, but the floor, I think we could lose about 4 games. I think the floor is 4 game loss. I don't think we'd lose more than 4 games with this type of schedule.
Well,
Um,
that's a really good segue. And here's how we get to 15 wins. We still have obviously one glaring hole. If we had anything to fix, it would be safety. So I got two names to throw out at you to see how you feel. First one, Grant Delpit out of out of the Cleveland Browns. Um, no inkling that he's necessarily available, but in order to acquire his services, obviously it would be via trade. I don't know if they have any interest in a AJ Brown, or if it would make sense financially with them having uh, Miles Garrett on the books. It's not a whole lot of room for those types of contracts, especially when you pay him the amount of money that you pay him. But he fixes an immediate need for us at safety, brings a veteran presence. He can definitely be run support, and give us something in the pass game. I think it's the type of move where we need a veteran presence at safety outside. Now, I do like Epps. Don't get me wrong. But I'm also a fan of depth. So if anything happens to Epps, if anything happens to a Makuba, he would be able to, plug in and help us go on a run. So that's the first move. How do you feel about that one? If it were to happen.
yeah, they secondary is strong. So anybody really off of the Brown secondary, I would love.
Hmm.
They have proven them and the Broncos have proven that they can obviously play football at that
Right.
level in their secondary. So I would love to have a presence like that on our team. That would that would excite me a lot because that is a hole that we do need to fix like immediately.
Yeah, I think with a move like that, that automatically puts us back in before any games are played. That automatically puts us back in the Super Bowl discussion, like without question. Because I mean, at that point,
100%.
what hole do you have? Um,
Yeah.
if we can't make a similar move to this, another move that could make sense is Kenny Moore. So he was just released from the Colts. Obviously, he's not a safety. He is a cornerback. He can be moved to the slot. Maybe we kick Coop to a safety position because
No.
we typically don't like to take him off the field. Um, Not my first move. Not saying that it's something that will necessarily fix what we got going on, but it is a potential option, being that he would be cheap. Howie loves 1 year deals. Um, from a depth standpoint, it definitely makes sense. It doesn't automatically solve our safety problem. That's the issue with it. But from a depth standpoint, it could potentially make sense. Um, I'm not a huge fan of taking a player that's a proven all pro out of that position and kicking him to a position where he can be good versus great. And that's what we would be doing if we took Coop from the proven all pro position that he is at the slot position and kicking him to one of the safety positions. But he is one of those rare talents that you can move him all over the field. We do in certain packages kick him to safety anyway. It just would potentially be more of a permanent thing for this season. But like I said, it's nothing that's set in stone, just something to kick out there. What are your thoughts on it?
I don't like that one. I think we got Woolen to help with the CB2 position. In any case, if you're saying to move Cooper DeJean from the nickel position that he excelled in,
Mhm.
um, will put me in a panic mode. Like, who finna be in nickel? This
Well, it
cat
would
gonna
be
be
him.
in. Yeah, this cat's gonna be in
Mhm.
nickel. Is that gonna work out? The fact that you know Coop now has to move into safety, but like I would rather just plug and play. You know what I mean? We have what we have. Get somebody who's a safety that can plug in there, adapt to Vic Fangio's system, and let's play football.
Yeah, this would definitely not be high up on my list, but again, just kicking the tires. Obviously, we still got a long way to go in this thing called the off season. Hopefully, Howie is able to make a move. Well, I mean, that's one thing we don't ever have to worry about Howie. We know at the end of the day, he's going to make a move that you're not necessarily thinking about, but in the long run, it generally makes sense. Now, sometimes he does swing for the fence, um, but you can't always hit a home run. So we'll see if we can bring in some more talent, or if they are confident in what we have in the building already. Which I don't want to go through I don't want to go through what we went through at CB2 last year with the safety position. I guess that's where my angst is coming from. So as we remember, we went into it, and you were one of the leading people saying, "Are we sure about Ringo? Are we sure about who was it, Adoree Jackson?"
Adore, yeah.
Um,
Who gave him the helmet? Who did
out
it?
outside of what we already come to expect from Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean on the other side in the nickel position. That CB2 position was a huge question mark last year, all season long, to the tune of we tried to fix it by bringing in Bennett. We tried to fix it by, shuffling Ringo and shuffling. Well, even though it was pretty rough, but I think that Adoree Jackson actually helped stabilize the position on the back end of the season. Now, was he great? No, but he was serviceable. He was serviceable. I think one of the games that stick out the most is the Giants game where, he looked like he was playing flag football out there. But outside of that, for the most part, if our offense wasn't so bad, I don't think it would have cost us the chance to compete for a championship. Um, it's just our offense was so bad. When you couple that with you can't make any mistakes defensively, then he's not your guy if you need perfect on the back end. But yeah, I feel like we're in that position where we are just like typically we are every season. We're like one piece away from being a complete squad. Um, with that being said, is there anything or anyone else that you may have an eye on that we could bring in?
I did actually, and he retired. That would be your Justin Simmons.
Mhm.
Um, or somebody said that already.
No, he was saying that we even brought in Jair Alexander, and he retired on us.
Yeah, that was poorly played
Hmm.
by the Ravens, just like they did with Max Crosby. Now, um, I would say Justin Simmons was the guy that I was looking forward to us picking up. Um, Reason being, him being in the NGO system, he's a plug and play guy. He's one of the dudes that can help us. and so that was one of the guys. I really don't know at this particular point. Um, as I'm pulling it up with our free agents that are left in the 2026 season, um, in the secondary,
It's not
yeah,
a
it's not
huge
huge.
list.
I mean, there's only Jesus Christ. And who we go here with? Nick Cross, um, Lattimore. Um, that's in the secondary, but that's corner position. Yeah, man, I don't know. This is what I will say. Plugging somebody in will be great, as long as they don't hurt us. But I will say this: the fact that our defensive line is going to get after the quarterback allows less pressure on our secondary.
Hmm.
Second level linebackers are just as great, putting
Not
pressure on the
worried about
quarterback,
that.
putting pressure on the quarterback, stopping the run, check downs, things like that. Puts more pressure on the quarterback, relieves the secondary. We have great backs. We filled one of the main holes at DB with Woolen. I know that name's been coming out of my mouth a lot, but that filled that position. And then we got, Quinion Mitchell. And then we got Coop in the nickel. And we got Andrew Makuba. One little position there. I don't know if it's going to hurt us as much until we play football because
Well,
of the
if we
pressure.
have to roll, out with what we already have, I'm very confident that Epps can handle
Yeah, yeah.
being that
That's
starting
all.
safety position. It's just
What ifs?
what's after him.
Yeah, yeah. What ifs? Yeah, the rotation.
Hmm.
Um,
Now
how,
they are high. They're high on Cole Wisniewski, undrafted free agent that we brought in. And as we recent memory, we did. That's how we got Reed Blankenship. He was an undrafted free agent, but you can't bank on everybody that we pick up
yeah,
being that. So,
yeah.
but on the defensive side of the ball, even though we do have a quote unquote hole, overall, I'm very confident in what Vic Fangio and that defense can do. We've
Mhm.
seen it 2 years now. Um, so I don't really have. I have more questions about the offense and all of the changes that we have offensively than I do about the defense and the hole that we had, the glaring hole that we have at safety. So when we talk about the offense, obviously we know that new offensive coordinator yet again, Sean Mannion. Not only is he new to Philly, but he's new as an offensive coordinator. Uh, widely considered one of the brightest minds in the game that's up and coming. Did some great things in Green Bay with the rest of that offensive staff and Matt LaFleur. Um, we bring in, well, we're expecting to offload AJ June 1st, or at least some of us are. Um, Obviously, we know we know we know what's happened this past year, and really since AJ has been here. Um, there's been little things that we kind of swept under the rug because we were winning, but everything came to a head in this past 2025 season. So there's the potential of him being moved somewhere. A lot of people are saying potentially to the Patriots. We talked earlier about there are other suitors on the table, so who knows what's going to happen there. Um, we bring in Makai Lemon in the draft, who was considered one of, if not the best wide receiver in the draft. We add Dontavian Wicks, Elijah Moore, Hollywood Brown to the fold at the wide receiver position. Obviously, we still have one of the best wide receivers in the game in Devontae Smith to kind of round out that wide receiver core. We're also bringing back Johnny Wilson and
I like to
Darius
see.
Cooper.
I like to see Johnny Wilson put on a little weight and move to tight end though.
I remember you saying that. Um, he is known for his blocking with his size and what he can do from the wide receiver position. But let's just see him get back in and play some healthy football
For real.
before we move him to an even more physical position. But I really like where we're headed offensively. Obviously, everything's going to change because outside of adding all of those weapons, we do go out and draft the Eli Stowers. We do agree to bring back Dallas Goddard on another 1 year deal. We bring in Johnny Mutt, who is really known for his blocking. We bring in Geno Stone, which is another tight end from the Jets. So we bring in Damian Pierce to help solidify that running back position with
The
Saquon and
Shipley.
Tank and Shipley. So the biggest question marks obviously would be the fact that we lost Jeff Stoutland. So that's a huge loss. Um, the offensive line was not themselves last year. Plenty of injuries to go around. Um, we suspect them to take a huge step up. Um, and just having a new offensive coaching staff from the coordinator position, the quarterback coach, the offensive line coach. So there are some new pieces there, some things to be excited about, some things to be uneasy about. But give me your overall thoughts if we don't make another move to add from to this team. How you? I mean, obviously we know how you feel with the outcome of the games, but how do you feel about the potential changes that we made in this offseason?
Yeah, I loved them. I love. One of the thing I was on edge about is if we're gonna get Sadiq or Lemon.
Hmm.
I was really hard up about getting one of the two, and I said if we're gonna get one, it's gonna be Lemon because I don't think that Sadiq will go that low, or even if we make a trade, I think it would be too late. I was happy about that addition. Staff cool. The one I'm interested in seeing, I want to see a lot of is Bell. I want to see how he because we got to think about our future as well with Lane Johnson um, potentially being gone either after this season, if not the next. So we need that next man up type of
Yep.
player. So I want to see what he does in the preseason with Bell, and if he gets injured, if he gets to come in and help us out. And then if Lane don't stay healthy this season, I can't see him coming in another season.
Right.
It's like one of those things. So is Bell as big as he is, and how physical he is, and how he played in his college seasons? Can he be that dominant on the line? Taking over Lane's position, and if he can, great. That was a great addition, right? Um, don't know what to expect out of Eli coming from a quarterback position to tight end. I like to see if he could play at the higher level, and we're going to get a chance to see that again in preseason. I know what we're getting out of Lemon. I seen him play in college, and I seen some takes that they had that they posted running his routes. A lot of like I believe in like a little Saint Brown esque.
That would be my comp for him.
Yeah. He definitely he gets to the ball, like the ball is thrown and he goes to the ball. Like
Yep.
he ain't waiting for the ball to get to him. He gonna go get that ball, and then it's yards after catch, right? Like he like very dicey, very like I'm gonna get extra yards after this catch. I'm just not gonna get this catch and that's it. You know. So I love that addition with Lemon. Green Yard, defensively, that was huge. I think that
You.
that was probably one of the biggest ones in the draft for us to pick that up because
Mhm.
of what we're losing and gaining and shifting and stuff. Um, I think the most thing that I'm most concerned about, if I have to concern about something, is going to be two things. Number one, off it's a two part answer is if our offensive staff becomes great, okay, and we do really really well. Well, that means that Minion might have an opportunity to go be a head coach somewhere.
Oh yeah, you know, book it.
Yeah. So now we got to start all over again. Which the other piece to that is, well, we have Lazard, right? So he was an offensive coordinator before, so he can step into that role. Great, fix that problem. But again, what if we don't do as great, right? Then we got to look the other direction, which I know you probably won't like this take, and a lot of Philadelphia Eagle fans won't like this take. But then it becomes, for me, this year is a prove it year for Jalen Hurts. I think this year has to be a year where he steps it just a step further in his reads, his options, his play calling at the line, his audibles. We've seen him do that in the Super Bowl season. We didn't see much of that last year, right? Him and Saquon got into sync when we were playing against the Rams, started calling audibles or seeing things, and they just getting into this groove that you see from Tom Brady and the greats, Peyton Mannings and all these guys that come in and play quarterback. I love to see him actually lead in the huddle. Not just be a great. He's a great leader on the field, great leader in the locker room, right? If you need poetry, he'll give that to you so that you're an intellectual thinker. I want to see him in the huddle though, and see him, adapt to the game just a little bit more because as we all know, Philly don't play when it comes to it doesn't matter how great you are, they get rid of you quick. So even though his resume might say he's a top 10 to top 5 quarterback, and some of us have him at a top 2 because of his accolades, we got to move on from that. It's 2026 now. What can you give us this year? Can you be better than you were last year? Is because we're moving forward now, and he's not getting younger; he's getting older, and he's declining in his ability to run as years go on. So, what can you give me in the pocket? Because again, you shut down Saquon. I want to see what you can do in getting this ball out. Now, does that wide receiver core help him? Absolutely, 100%. Does the running back core help him? 100%. But that line is going to have to help even more this year to solidify Jalen Hurts as being that quarterback that everybody looks to. And I'm not saying that he has to go out there being Joe Burrow. I just want him to go out there and be like, I can beat you with my arm just as much as I can beat you with my legs. And that's it. That's a statement he just has to make. And I think this is the year that he kind of proves that. I'm hoping that he proves that. And again, I am a Jalen Hurts fan. Don't get me wrong. But as an Eagle fan and as a person that has to look from the outside in, I have to look at that and being like, okay, there was multiple things that were happening last season and the seasons prior to that that makes me believe that it's one of these things that is happening and we got to fix the puzzle. We got to continually advance in fixing these puzzles because as we progress, right, we just have to get better. And so I think that's just one of those things that I have to pay attention to is because again, I'll end with this is that we were frustrated in the year that we won the Super Bowl because of in the playoffs and prior to the playoffs. He hurt his knee because number one, he didn't slide or throw away the ball. When we played against the Rams, bent him back. He didn't want to throw it away. So we were looking at those types of things of making those reads. He was only making one read, and it was like when it's not there, he's trying to run at this particular point. It's too late. Or sliding, he's gotten extremely better last year in getting rid of the football and sliding. But in a whole quarterback sense, he has to be able to read the whole entire field. And hopefully because he has all those weapons, he can look down the field and be like, okay, bang, bang, bang. I don't have to force feed anymore. I don't have to make this throw all the time. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. This is there. I'm throwing it there. You know what I mean? Even if it's 2-3 yards, you know what I'm saying? That makes the defense be like, okay, he's throwing the football. He may throw the football again. Give it to Saquon. Boom. He busts out for 5 or 6. Now, you know what I'm saying? They only need a yard. Whether if it's a tush push or we run it, don't matter. You know what I'm saying? It keeps them guessing and thinking. And I think we were a little bit too predictable last year. Not a little bit. We were predictable last year. As you said, run, pass, punt. That was the secret sauce. That was the good burger right there. Secret sauce. So we got to be unpredictable. And Jalen Hurts has to be uncomfortable or enough for him to grow this year. And that's my main take on that. I believe it's a prove it year for him, and I believe it's a prove it year for our see what our offensive staff can do. I still don't know what Nick does. That has been a question for me. Nick Sirianni, what exactly do you do? Like other than the PR work, you did great PR work last year, right? Like wanted to be more advanced, you want to be more in tune with the offense, so he went to more meetings with the offense. That didn't work, right? Like I want to know, outside of being the head coach, what Nick Sirianni purpose and reason why he's there. I want him to be felt. You know what I'm saying? I want the offense and the defense to feel his presence, like we did when we had Andy Reid. Like we knew Andy Reid, for what he does. I want to feel that from Nick Sirianni this year. I want to feel his presence. You know what I'm saying? And so there's a lot of things that I'm thinking about, just really just digesting this whole season. We have a whole season coming up pretty soon here. Be it's exciting for you to cover it all on Sports Lounge Media and Down South Philly show. And don't forget Prime Time. And we're going to get a lot of those questions answered, sooner than later. So that's my little spiel, I guess. My
Hey
little
man,
my little lecture.
I appreciate you spending your Friday afternoon with me. We were able to go in depth with our predictions and how we feel the season could go if things do shake out and all of these moves do progress in the manner that we feel. Yes, yes, David. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, thank you. Um, it we already made our predictions of how we feel the season could go if these moves do pan out, and the people that need to make their these leaps and bounds make those leaps and bounds, then we'll be right back in the conversation for a championship run. And hopefully we'll be, hoisting a Lombardi and, going to a parade on, what is it, Broad Street? I think they go to Broad Street. Um, I think that's what they call it. I'm not sure. But I'll definitely be in attendance if we end up uh, with that type of celebration. But with that being said, like I said again, I appreciate your time. We were able to
No
put
doubt.
2 hours into like really diving deep into the schedule uh to kind of, pull out our thoughts and maybe sprinkle in some pixie dust on the season that is to come. But obviously you can catch me every Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard, right here on Sports Lounge Media with the Down South Philly show. As Chosen mentioned, we also have Primetime Sports, which we're more active in the NFL season, but we have the finals coming up. We got the Western Conference Finals coming up. Um, we got some big time boxing matches coming up that all are candidates to be featured on Sports Lounge Media and Primetime Sports. Um,
I love to see you cover the Western Conference Finals as our Vegas Golden Knights just clinched a spot and playing against the Colorado starting on Wednesday night. And yes, I will be in attendance for game 3 and 4.
okay.
Wednesday, Sunday, and Wednesday. So super excited about that. But would love to see us dabbling into that, and also Way Down South Philly show. Let's go Eagles. Oh, way down
Wait,
south. Way, my bad. But
appreciate you,
yeah,
David.
so excited about that and bringing the content to the shows too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to all your prime time stuff that's going on. Please tune
And you
in,
never
guys.
know. You whenever you got a moment, you generally hop on from time to time if your schedule permits. We'll keep that going. Obviously, I mentioned a little bit of what we could expect for this summer outside of the NFL as we gear up for another successful season. Um, Always would like to remind you guys, hit that like button. Make sure you
Yeah,
drop a few comments. As always, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. We are on the cusp of 1,000 subscribers on Sports Lounge Media. We're right at like 805 or something like that. We also have the Down South Philly show was right on the cusp of 600 followers, 600 subscribers. So go ahead and subscribe to both. So here's the benefits: you subscribe to Sports Lounge Media to get all your sports, and then if you want that extra oomph when it comes to Philly, the
yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles in particular, come on over to Down South Philly show. But you can actually catch them both in the same place if you just want to stick to Sports Lounge Media. But it'd be a huge help if you just subscribe to both. It doesn't hurt. It's free. Like I said, we right now while we're in this off season, Friday 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. Everything else when it comes to primetime sports is subject to obviously whenever it's airing, like next week for the NBA and NHL seasons. Um, but yeah, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. We'll be right back here next week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard, to break down some more Eagles news. Hopefully we'll talk about making the trade for AJ next week. I don't know. Uh that's a day by day scenario that obviously we technically know that nothing will happen until at least June. Uh but wishful thinking. But we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
I will say that before you sign off. In this 2 hour span, we did get 6 new followers on the Sports Lounge
Hey,
Media. So
go ahead and raise it up. I appreciate each and every one of you for spending your Friday with us. This has been it's been fun. I love to talk birds. Obviously, when we have more time, we can go in depth with these type of episodes. So, typically we spend about an hour on the episode, but this show required us to actually put a little more analysis, a little more conversation into it. So, we'll be back next week, 7:30 Eastern Standard. But until then, go birds. Go birds.